Alright, today we're going to be working on the 240 this time because we have to work on the 240 this time. I'm going to be doing my front wheel bearings because they're just shit. They have a lot of play, so I figured I would show you guys how to swap those out, mainly because this process is the same as doing a 4 to 5 lug conversion. So just pretend I have a 4 lug hub there, and we're going to be installing these aftermarket 5 lug hubs. So it's pretty straightforward, but figured why not make a little video out of it. Alright, so for the first step, obviously jack the car up, put it up on jack stands, and take the wheel off. Now, in case you're wondering what a bad wheel bearing sounds like, that's basically it. This thing has so much fucking play in it. So I mean, that's how you know they're bad. I don't really notice it while driving. You might feel like a shimmy, I'm assuming, but I just found out that they were bad on my routine checkup. So yeah, jack the car up, use jack stands, and take off the wheel. Alright, after the wheel's off, you're going to be taking off the brake caliper. Now this is the same whether you have stock brakes, 300ZX brakes, I'm pretty sure any brakes. You're going to undo the 2 bolts that hold the caliper to the knuckle. It does help if you leave the key in the ignition so you can turn the steering wheel, and then you can get these bolts a little bit easier. So yeah, I guess I'll do that now. Alright, once the caliper is off, mount it off to the side. Make sure it doesn't hang by the brake line a lot. Just put it off somewhere safe. Use some common sense. Take the rotor off, spacers if you have any, the bolt-on kind especially, and then you pretty much have the bearing or the wheel hub exposed. Yeah, this thing's fucked. Now, next step is to take off this big ass fucking nut. On the S14s, they are 32s. S13s are 30 millimeter on the front, and then S14 and S13s are both 36 in the rear. I'm pretty sure that's right. Now for this step, it does help if you have an impact gun, some kind of air tool. If you don't have one, you're gonna have to break this nut. It's easier to break this nut loose with a car on the ground. So you can put this through the center of your wheel, that center hole where the center cap would have gone, and then break it loose with a big ass pry bar, and then go upon the steps that I just showed you. Or like I said, if you're lucky and have an air tool, then you can just fucking shove this thing in here and zap it. And just be done with it like that. Once the nut's out of the way, this thing should just basically slide out. Don't forget about this little washer and foreign. You're gonna need that. Put that off to the side. Go ahead and clean this whole area pretty decently. Something you can do while you're in here is you can cut the dust shield if you plan on going bigger brakes. If not, then just let it be. But I'm gonna go ahead and clean this up, and then we'll install a new one. Alright, so I went ahead and cleaned this thing up a little bit. I just used brake cleaner and a couple rags. I forgot to mention too that if for whatever reason the hub doesn't want to come off, I've had them where they don't want to come off, like on rusty 240s. I bolt up the rotor up to the hub and put a couple lug nuts on, and just use the rotor as kind of more of a leverage. Then I just grab kind of at, I guess, 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock and kind of pull it out that way. That seems to help. And then sometimes the actual bearing, when it's really fucked up, part of it stays like right here, and you have to kind of cut it out and just find a way to take it out, chisel it out or something. But I normally don't have much issues. So yeah, normally they'll just slide out, but just in case there's some tips, I guess, or you can figure out your own way to take it out, but that's kind of what I figured out works. So I normally apply a little bit of high temperature grease just right here, just a little bit, don't get too crazy with it before I put the new one in. I just feel like it helps a little bit. So we put a little bit of grease there. I might put a little bit on the actual inside of the new one, not a lot, like I said, it's just a little bit. And then I'll go ahead and put the new one on. Dang, things making me look bad right now. Maybe because I just have one hand too. Yeah, it might help if you use both hands. And then you don't forget this washer. Clean it up a little bit. And that washer is like slotted, so it only goes in one way. And then you're gonna put in your big nut. And then you're gonna tighten it. Tighten it back up. Now don't hammer it all the way in. We're gonna torque this. We're gonna do this the better way. So just a little bit. And then I'm gonna go ahead and torque this one down to a spec. Alright, so I went ahead and torqued it down. I used shop key as a, I guess, to look up the torque spec. It does call for the fronts at 152 foot-pounds to 203 foot-pounds. So I just went somewhere in the middle and I did 180. Some people torque them like this up in the air, and some people torque them with the weight of the car. So they'll like put it all back together and then torque it through the same center cap hole axis, and then torque it like that. I've always just done it this way. You guys can do it however you want. I just think it's better if I torque it like this, when there's like a weight on it, and torque it that way. But either way, like I said, this is how I do it. You can do it however the fuck you want. And then from here, we're just gonna go, reassemble it. Rotor, caliper, and then wheel back on, and we should be good to go. Alright, so I went ahead and put the caliper back on, wheels back on. We just need to torque it. Forgot to mention too, if you have extender studs, don't forget to swap those over to your new ones, your new hub, just so you don't forget. They're easier to do when they're obviously like this. You just hammer them out and then pound the new ones back in. If you can afford it, I guess I would say, buy OEM parts, aftermarket bearings. Some of them don't really last that long, even if you torque them properly. Just after, I guess depends how you drive your car, but like some of them just wouldn't last. Drifting a couple sessions or driving in a couple miles, like, just be careful what you buy. Now, just so you guys know, this is the same process as to do for, say, a 4-lug to 5-lug conversion. Mine just happened to be already 5-lug, and I just happened to have a shitty bearing, so I just decided to make this quick little how-to. But it's literally the exact same steps, as long as you get the right conversion hubs. S13 and S14 are the same up front, unless you try to do some Frankenstein shit on the S13s, but that's a whole different story. Let's see. Then again, this is how I do it. You don't have to do it the exact way. Some people probably torque shit different, or I'm not sure what else you could do different, but you just use this as a guide so you can do your conversion, or just swap out your bearings if they're bad. Yeah, I'm not really sure. I think that's about it. I'm gonna go ahead and do the other side now before it gets any darker.